Starting with my boy, the New York Giants running back, Saquon Barkley, already ruled out. Today is Wednesday. You'll probably be hearing this on Thursday. So ruled out of today's game, right ankle sprain. What's going on with him, man?
It's interesting because if you look at the video, it looked like a classic high ankle sprain, and that's what we all thought. And then we get these reports. I think the wording was it's an ordinary ankle sprain or something absolutely not medical terminology. That was pretty funny, actually.
The doctor
Uh,
said he's hurt, Tom. That's all he said.
yeah,
He got
pretty
a boo-boo.
much. You got a boo boo, yeah. So the wording is telling us that it's a traditional lateral ankle sprain, which is kind of crazy because it didn't look like that at all. But sometimes you just don't know. He's not playing this week, so we'll have this conversation about him again next week. But originally they were saying like a 2 to 3 week type injury, so it'll be interesting to see if he's ready to go next week. I'm sure we'll start getting the reports. Oh, he's feeling a whole lot better, but that's who knows if that's actually true or if that's just coach speak to force their week 4 opponent to prepare for him. If he does play next week, we see about an 11% decline in fantasy production in running backs after this injury. Not enough to scare you off from starting Saquon Barkley, but the potential issue is that in the medical literature, we know that when an athlete's had an ankle sprain, they're at a 26% increase, or they have a 26% chance of spraining it again. So definitely something that could linger season long, but hopefully they'll let him rehab properly, and then when he comes back, I'm sure that sucker is going to be taped and braced really good. So not so much of a hindrance on his production when he plays, but possibly could lead to some more injuries down the road.
All right. Well said, Tom, as always. We hope not to see that. And maybe, I mean, of course, the Giants coaching staff, with game planning in mind for their opposition, saying he had a chance to play this week. There was no way he was playing this week, but maybe a little bit of extra rest for next week. We'll see. But he's the heart and soul, man. The heart and soul of the New York Giants. Productive last week, man. 96 yards, 2 scores. The Giants had it. Some of the boys were there, man. I wasn't there. I wish I was. Nice comeback last week for the Giants in the desert. Now this week, guys, you got to take a look because I think there's people trying to get cute out there and play some of these Giants guys. Giants play the Niners, a great defense, a very strong team, especially against the run. They just held Najee Harris to 31 yards and Kyron Williams to 52 yards. So I don't even consider it, Tom. I know you're not considering it, but don't do it. Don't play. I think we're going to see a healthy mix this week of probably Breida, maybe even some Gary Brightwell. You're going to have Danny Dimes stealing some goal line work. I mean, don't. Tom, you're smiling. Please don't tell me.
I'm not interested in either of those running backs at all.
But just don't do it to yourselves.
I won't. You don't have to tell me. I'm not doing that.
Well, I got to tell the people out there that want to just throw one of these guys in there. Don't do it. And I honestly think the only person you could play on the Giants is probably Darren Waller at this point, and it's unfortunate. Maybe you get away with Danny Dimes, but don't lose your matchup on Thursday, guys. Wait for the better options over the weekend. Wait for Sunday's games, Monday's games. Wouldn't play any of these guys. Okay. On to Austin Ekeler, ankle injury, and I'm seeing no timetable, Tom. That's what Staley's saying. He was out today, I think. Tell us a little more about Ekeler. What's going on with him?
Yes, so they never specified the ankle injury, but if you watch the video, it's very, very much like a high ankle sprain. And that's where some of the lack of clarity will come in because high ankle sprains are less predictable from a healing standpoint. Because with them, depending on how severe it is, you may get the separation of the tibia and the fibula bones from each other, which leads to some instability in the ankle. So now when you go to push off, imagine you're pushing off on grass or turf. You've got a nice stable base, stable surface to push off of. Well, imagine you're trying to cut on sand. It's just not as stable. So that's probably why there's some uncertainty because they just aren't able to accurately predict how long it's going to take to heal because of the stability issue. Whenever he does return to playing, somehow our data shows no decline in fantasy production for running backs, but I think that's more coincidence rather than correlation. So I believe it would be more reasonable to expect a little bit of a dip in his production in his first game or two back. But a player like Ekeler who can touch the ball so many ways, get in the end zone so much, whenever he does play, you're still going to start him. It's just going to be difficult to know exactly when he returns because of kind of the vagueness of his injury. but at this point, it does not look good for this week.
All right. Well said as always. I mean, you got your Chargers who we talked about them and how they're always on red zone in these close games. They just continue to find ways to lose, man. And Joshua Kelly was a guy who a lot of us thought would be okay in his in the absence of Ekeler. He was pretty disappointing last week. Only 39 rushing yards. It's another annoying backfield, Tom. It's crazy. When one guy goes down, it's not as simple as, put in the next guy. And I thought it would be like that with Joshua Kelly, but you had Elijah Dotson getting 4 carries, Spiller having a carry. I mean, this week's game should be fun, though. It's Chargers-Vikings Sunday game. There's going to be 100 points in that game. And just another question about this offense, because the backfield's certainly muddy with that Ekeler. What do you think about Quentin Johnston, Tom, quick? Because I drafted him in 2 or 3 leagues, and I liked him. I know it's a waiting game, and we got to be patient, but 2 games, 3 total catches for 16 yards. Is he even worth a roster spot anymore?
I think he's going to be later. We should not have expected him to do much early behind Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, who are proven veterans that Herbert has a tremendous rapport with. And even Palmer has been okay, and Herbert likes him as well. So I don't know that we were expecting a whole lot early in the season from him, but he's super talented. So I do think it's coming.
I wasn't expecting a lot, but I wasn't expecting 3 catches for 16 yards. I wanted a little bit more. I just needed a little push to keep him on my team because I want to release him, but it's all about patience, especially with these rookies, and could be a second half guy.